How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Sector 6, and today we're going to be talking about something that was a pretty big change in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from the OG, and that is the Gaia tribe. As I've stated in a previous video where I discussed 7 of the biggest changes in Rebirth, make sure you check that one out, but the Gaia have had their involvement and their scope expanded quite a bit to fit in with the expanded scope and world of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, today, we're going to look at what went down with the Gaia, and we're going to speculate a little bit. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe for future content because there's lots more coming. There is a massive amount of information to dig into regarding this game, and we are not going to stop. So, you know, join the party. Also, before you proceed to watch this video, massive spoilers for a section about 3/4 of the way through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we'll probably be talking about a lot of stuff, so spoilers. If you've not finished, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. But let's crack on with it. So after finishing the trials in the Cave of the Gaia, we are met by Gaia, and we eventually follow him to the village of the Gaia. And we end up getting a pretty huge amount of information regarding not only the Gaia, but the Cetra, the planet, and the Black Materia as well. Gaia does everything that he can to establish the Cetra as a bad, intolerant people, and that they have a history that is full of acts that the Gaia find reprehensible. But as we learn a little bit more about the Gaia, I think it becomes quite apparent that that all comes down to perspective. In the same way that Sephiroth probably feels that he's entirely justified in his actions, everybody else kind of looks at him like, no, what you want about, mate? I feel like it's the same with the Gaia. The Gaia are unable to return to the planet, as they are not bound to the planet or of the planet, and therefore they can never return to it. We learn that the Gaia attempted to create their own path to salvation, and talk about searching for the materia of peace. And this is all going on as we're walking through the village of the Gaia. We keep getting little moments of interactions after bits of combat here and there, and we are proceeding on our way up to actually speak to Gaia. As we continue up this path, the Gaia reveal that their goal is not to exist, but to no longer exist. Seeking destruction is what they view as their salvation. So the Gaia continue to talk about pouring their hope and faith into the purest of materia, and this is an interesting point that we'll circle back round to a little bit later on. But we learn that the purest of materia was turned black with their pain and spite, steeped in their one desire, oblivion. Now, as we began this journey following Gaia and entering the Gaia village, we saw Sephiroth, and Sephiroth just kind of stood in front of Cloud, turned around, walked away, kind of suggesting to Cloud, yes, yes, follow me. And again, Sephiroth appears to Cloud, and he says nothing, but he just seems to let the words of the Gaia resonate through Cloud. And in that moment, Cloud immediately decrees that they can't be allowed to have the Black Materia. We can't let the Gaia have the Black Materia. And he's right, but the motive comes from a dark place, shall we say. Now, mid-combat, the Gaia continues to talk, and he speaks of how over the course of eons, the star that they called home began to wane, until it was at last subsumed by our own, Gaia. Now, let's look at the terminology that was used here. Star suggests that it isn't a world that was part of the planet's system of worlds, so it's not a part of Gaia's system, which is something that we learn about later on in the game. This pretty solidly confirms that this is another planet, an extraterrestrial planet. So how did Gaia subsume the Gaia's planet? The word subsumed suggests that Gaia just came along and nommed what was left of the Gaia planet, just kind of like Pac-Man, just like om. And it'd be interesting to think about how that came to be, because normally when something like that happens on a planetary scale, it's a collision of bodies, and the only collision of bodies that we know about is Genova, the North Crater. But anyway, we'll get to that later. We learn that the Gaia's planet shook, the seas boiled, the skies shattered, and time stopped. Now, skies shattering is something that we've seen a couple of times by the end of Rebirth, and it suggests that the Gaia's home planet had a similar system in place to Gaia. Time stopping is not something that we've seen, but the skies shattering and the world seemingly coming to an end mirrors what's going on Gaia pretty consistently. There are definitely questions, however, surrounding consciousness, and people seemingly being able to cross not only worlds but maybe time frames as well, but that's a completely different conversation. That comes into play when we talk about who is Aerith and who is Sephiroth. Definitely going to need another video for that. But yeah, this is all stuff that we can see a correlation with on Gaia. All the things that the Gi describe as having happened to their world are seemingly happening here. However, it could just be apocalyptic fancy talk, who knows. Now, few of the Gi survived, settling on Gaia, and how? If their world was destroyed and then essentially absorbed by Gaia, how did the Gi survive? We don't really get any suggestions of how they did it, to be honest. I would assume there'd be some sort of magical thing that they did. I don't know. I don't know. They seem to be a people that are potentially on par with the Cetra. Like, if you were to put the Gi on their world, I believe that they would probably be on a level with the Cetra as far as power and capabilities goes. So maybe they were able to do something because of that ability. I'm not too sure. And also, that is a huge leap/assumption by me that the Gi would be comparable to the Cetra, power-wise, if they were on their own planet. That's a big leap, but, you know, who knows? But, like I say, we don't get any suggestion of how the Gi did that, so if you've got any thoughts of how the Gi actually came to the planet, let me know. The planet, however, rejected them, as they were not born of the planet, and therefore could never return to the life stream. So they were frozen out by the planet. The Gi goes on to explain how they claimed the greatest of materia from the planet. This is something that we heard earlier on when we were walking through. Gi Natak's just kind of reiterating and going into a little bit more detail on the things that we heard in the first section. But the question is, what is this materia? What is this purest of materia that they're talking about? Could it be the clear materia that Cloud has? Could it be some sort of, not that materia, not exactly that one, but something analogous to that clear materia? I think it's possible. The purest of materia, you would assume, would be the white materia, but I don't know if that's what's happened here. I don't know if they've taken the white materia and corrupted it and then a new white materia has been created. Again, we don't get the hugest amount of details here. I am hopeful that we do get more details, either in part 3, any DLC that might come, which I doubt is coming, but you never know. Or maybe even in the Ultimania that just dropped today. It's still in Japanese, so we've not been able to check it out. Please hurry up and translate it, Square Enix. Please, please, please. But, you know, there might be information in there. But as it stands, all we know is that they claimed the purest of materia from the planet, filled it with their wish for oblivion, and that created the black materia. It's a very interesting origin for the black materia. Anyway, Gi Natak continues and he says it took an eternity for the materia to come to power, but then the Cetra came and took the materia from the Gi. Now all the Gi want is us to retrieve the materia so that they can have their oblivion. And as the meeting draws to a close, Lifestream appears, and the Gi claim that they have been discovered by the Cetra, one can assume. Now later on in the game, when we hit the Temple of the Ancients, we don't really get anything more other than the confirmation A, that the black materia was created by the Gi, B, that they came from outside the planet, and C, that it will cause devastation and destruction. It will summon Meteor. And that's pretty much everything that we've got about the Gi up to this point. So what's the deal? First off, we've got the strong suggestion that the life stream of the Gi's planet died, leaving the planet as a lifeless husk, shattering the skies, time stopped, all of that good stuff. There are potentially a few reasons for how that happened. Maybe the Gi messed around with materia on their planet in a similar way to how they've created the black materia, going too far maybe with things that they tried to do with the materia. Maybe they corrupted their own life stream in the process and that then led to its inevitable destruction. There could have been many other people on the Gi planet. Some of them may have even been Shinra-esque in nature and did similar things like exploiting the planet's resources to the point of collapse. Maybe it was very similar to things that have gone down on Gaia. It's most likely though that the planet met a natural end from the sounds of it, but we'd be foolish to rule out one possibility entirely. Although, I will say I do think the time frames could probably be off. What if the Gi's planet did die to an outside influence? What if Genova arrived? Imagine, Genova arrives on the Gi planet, corrupts it to the point where everything goes wrong and the Gi's homeworld dies. Then, Genova uses the Gi planet to hunt out another planet to infect and corrupt, finding Gaia. She arrives at the same time as the Gi. The Gi are rejected by the planet, not only due to not being born of it, but also due to maybe being corrupted by Genova. This could also explain why the Cetra refused to help the Gi, instead leaving them to suffer, and then taking the black materia from them when they created it. It mirrors the threat of what could be about to happen to Gaia, something that we've already seen before we even speculate this. And it shows us the consequences of failing to defeat Sephiroth. The only thing that makes me really doubt this is the timescales. Gi Natak suggests timeframes such as eons and eternities, both of which usually equate to a little bit more than a couple of thousand years. Eons particularly tend to land in the billions of years, whereas eternities is kind of like an immeasurable amount of time. Although both can just be used in language to kind of signify a long time, doesn't necessarily have to have a numerical value attributed to it. Genova could still have been the reason for the Gi's world dying, but Gi Natak states that it took an eternity for them to fill the black materia with their sorrow. And if the Gi came with Genova, like I say, 2,000 years, not really an eternity. But it is possible, it could be possible. Another possibility, however, is that the Gi may have indirectly brought Genova here by creating the black materia itself. We know that Genova is a creature that came from space and came to consume and destroy, essentially. We can also guess that Genova has done this before, possibly even to the Gi. I say this because Sephiroth in Advent Children has the desire to kind of gather up the life stream and travel the cosmos to find a new planet to rule and become ruler of everything. And I feel like this is some sort of genetic urge that he gets from Genova. He is replicating the MO of Genova, essentially. But let's just say Genova is like this, and is travelling the cosmos looking for a planet to knock. And then out of nowhere, she senses a massive surge of pain, sorrow, and despair, coming from a pretty little blue-green rock over in the distance. What if she senses a desire for oblivion stronger than she's ever sensed before, coming from people in more pain than she's ever felt before? The Gi. Sounds like it could be pretty tasty. So what if the Gi inadvertently brought Genova to Gaia as a result of their suffering? That way, the Gi can still arrive eons ago, get rejected by the planet, steal the purest of materia, spend an eternity filling it with their pain, and then as it comes to life, it acts as a beacon in the cosmos. A shining light of pain and suffering for Genova to be drawn to. Who knows, maybe it's a combination of the two. Maybe the reason the Gi's world died originally was because of Genova or something similar to Genova, and then, over time, the two have reconverged in this moment. There's a lot of possibilities to think about here, but, like I say, we've not got any more information than this, really. I am in the process of playing through the game again with like the context of the ending and everything that goes on, so I'll be keeping an eye out for any additional details that could suggest anything else along this. But what do you think about the Gi? Do you think they're responsible for bringing Genova here, like I say, inadvertently by activating the black materia? Or do you think they maybe came along with Genova and the time frames do match up? It could just be a case of eternity feels a lot longer when you're trapped in the afterlife and you can't die, and the Gi just haven't really got a solid concept of time. Who knows? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below anyway. Hit like on the video, subscribe for future content, share it with all your friends, your family, let everybody know, get everyone talking about the Gi. But more importantly than anything, have a great day.